Welcome back to Made Up of Wires. We're decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Last week on Monday, I provided a news segment at the beginning, and I did not prepare that for today, so what's new in Castlevania Symphony of the Night decompilation? Nothing. There's actually probably a lot, and I just haven't been paying attention this weekend. Lots going on. So we're going to do what we do on the stream and decompile. But can't tell you much else. If you want to know more, though, you can go to soten.z.dev. You could look at the source code by going to GitHub, and you could tell me what's going on. You could also look at join us in Discord. Like the news, I haven't been there either. Anyway, so what we were doing last week, I did a little mod for the Flea Men right at the end of the last stream, and it turned out to be funny. My kids liked it a lot as well. I might refine that a little bit before it's something that I record. So I mentioned before, I'm on the I was approved to give a talk at the Game On Expo in April, and one of the things I wanted to show was what modding looks like in a world where we can recompile code, and that was one of the demos that I wanted to show. Not exactly that demo, because that was just a first pass, but things like that would be legitimately relatively difficult using the existing techniques that the randomizer community uses, because not only was data changed, but logic was changed as well, and that becomes increasingly difficult when not only do you have to know what machine code to put in, but if the amount of machine code that you're putting in changes, or the amount of data that you're putting in changes, that significantly alters what you have to do using the randomizer techniques, which are perfectly acceptable for changing data, but less acceptable for changing logic. That community is doing amazing things. Not discounting what they're doing by any stretch, but much easier when you can recompile. All right, so we were looking at some of the BO4 dupes, and I think that's where we'll keep going. I've added a few more symbols, hit by holy, hit by dark, so I think we'll go through those and just keep working down the symbols that have names, and the ones that don't have names, not too worried about those. I did get these offsets working, so I think I can get rid of all these X turns now, because we have a player state struct. And I think all this can go away as well. If there's anything I'm doing along the way that seems odd or abnormal, please feel free to chat. And if you're not in chat, if you're watching this later on YouTube, join us in chat. Happy to answer any questions along the way. So I'm going down and looking for functions that either don't have a US in them. So in this case, this 801 18C28 function. This and the Doppleganger entity hit by holy, these are going to have equivalents in DRA. Some of them have equivalents in the Richter overlay as well. And so we're going to look at those and see how similar they are, and if I need globals. Anything that requires a global, I'm going to skip for the moment, just because it takes a little extra work. So I'm looking for this function. It has the same name because I gave it this name in the Doppelganger overlay. We should be able to figure out what these are. A little odd. Oh, these are being copied into words. So they're byte values that are being copied into Word. So I think we can map this data. This should be relatively straightforward to map. So I'm going to open the assembly for this func8011 function. I'm doing good, Antoine. Good to have you back. Good to see you too, Mr. Mitty. For anybody who's been watching the stream or anything else, Friday was Fiber Day finally, and so I'm interested to see what the stream looks like. I didn't bump the stream back to 4K or 60 frames a second, but we should have a pretty good stream today, quality-wise, video quality-wise. Not commentary or otherwise. Can never judge how that's going to go. All right, so here we have this 801C28 function. Hey, Dig Down Deep, good to have you back. Or German pronunciation-wise, can't vouch for that either. Basically, I'm looking for what this offset is here. And I need to find what this ACFB4 structure is. It looks like it's defined in DRA.h. Kind of a strange union. Hey, X-Links, good to have you. Welcome. I'm going to define that here. On this one, we're just going to name after this global, and we're going to use that as our offset. And then I need to find where these are being stored. Find the offset for that as well. So here's where our storage is, this 4C. How was everybody's weekend? No reason. I just forgot. Let me see if I can do that while in the middle of the stream. Probably not. Oh, maybe I can. Be a bit right. Let's see if that is gonna. Make any difference. Oh, here come the bits. Are they going? We'll see if that's any better. One of the best things about this is having the symmetric upload. When you have to upload to YouTube at the end of it all. That was extremely slow before. All right, so I'm going to well, look at each of these bars as well. So like this 8013, 803C. Let's see where these are defined. It looks like these are BSS. They're just bytes, but they're offset by. So their bytes being treated, or their words being treated as bytes, which is a little bizarre. Oh, it's now 4K. I didn't actually change. Yeah, I can't change it. It shouldn't be 4K, but it should be higher bitrate at least. I can't change the resolution until I restart the stream, so I'll do that after. Do that tomorrow, and then I'll. Yeah, it seems pretty locked in at 4K bitrate, which is nice. I can go up higher as well, but we'll see. Anyway, having going from 10 megabit to 500 megabit upload is crazy. I'm sure the Europeans know. Whenever I hear about European internet speeds, I feel embarrassed for America. So these are actually a little different. We're having these 4C. Oh no, maybe it's not different. Never mind. I thought for a second that these might be just single bytes, but it looks like they are still 32-bit. Padded to 32 bits, 4 bytes. I don't know. It's static. I want to extern here. That's surprising. I guess I don't know specifically about different countries. I just read on like Hacker News and elsewhere. Just the ridiculous speeds that people get gigabit and whatever for like $20 a month. And I'm jealous, and then I go cry. I wrap myself in my American flag and sing some kind of country western song. While setting off fireworks and drinking Budweiser. I think that's how Americans mourn. Last I checked. Sorry. Oh, bummer to hear about the cold. X-Links. If there's any info, the biggest the biggest difficulty I think with the PSP decomp is ripping your own copy of the game, which I haven't covered before. But the setup should be relatively similar. I don't think that once you have a copy of the game in the right place, there's nothing really more to do. You do have to, when you're building, you have to set the version. You can either set it as an environment variable or you can set it as a variable to make. You set the version to PSP EU. Lots of DSL, that's interesting. I never had to deal with DSL. We went right from the cable monopolies in the US have so much infrastructure that I think that for most communities that like just there were I did know people with DSL in the 90s, but most of us just had dial-up and then went basically right to cable. I can show you the X-Links. I'll run a PSP build as soon as I get this working or not working, depending on how it goes. So I could map these to the same symbols. I don't want to at the moment, though. And that's because for data, especially, I want those symbols to be unique. Gotta get rid of my include ASM. So that did work. I'm a little surprised. So I'm going to give myself a to-do here. Just to remind myself that this is part of DRA as well. PSP Alpha or PSP like bin queue pair. So let's do that. Let's I'll save this off and we can look at that real quick. So I'll check out master. Oh, I want to get rid of my makefile changes. So the easiest, so you should have a bin queue pair for. Oh, sorry, no. You should have an ISO. This is the only one that is ISO. The other ones are all bin queue pairs. So you should have an ISO for the PSP disc. As far as I know, PSP discs don't have audio tracks on them, so you can get away with an ISO versus the Saturn or PlayStation versions that all have at least one audio track on them. And then, so you could do it, like I said, you could do it two ways. You could export version equals PSP EU, and now everything you do with make will be operating on the PSP version. We're using the EU version because it was the first version with multiple language support in one game file, or one disk. The other versions had separate disks per language, which is why. So that's why the EU version is being chosen. But yeah, this will run all of the tooling. Make sure you run make update dependencies. That will make sure you have any tooling. It looks like there's a couple other things. So this is the big one. Do you have the Allegrix SDK and compiler? Because that's what's the MetroWorks compiler for Allegrix MIPS is what needs to be used. But update dependency should do that for you. And then I don't know if there's any submodules, Git submodules that have that are specifically Yeah, I guess you do. So this is MetroWorks CC is the MetroWorks compiler. So as long as you have those, that should be enough. The other way to do it, when I'm working if I'm in Vim, I'll export version PSP-EU and then run my other stuff, because after I run this shell, the export goes away. I often forget that I have version set here. So the other way to do it is, if you're not familiar with make, is to just pass this. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can pass it in basically as a variable when you're running any of the make targets, or you can use the Unix shell variable. So this is an ephemeral variable for this command, which should run. Make will get that as a variable. If you're doing long command chains on a single line, that may or may not be what you want. Yeah, and then that won't set your global environment. But yeah, stop in to Discord and people can help you. I think it should be in the wiki too, building for PSP. It looks like I screwed something up while doing that, but that's okay. I'm going to go back to VO4. And we'll see what else is next. I didn't do much with some decomp over the weekend. I did watch an MVG video. Do you guys watch Modern Vintage Gamer on YouTube? He was saying, he was talking about Sonic where Sonic turns into a werewolf for Xbox 360 and PS3. There's been a recompile project for that, which doesn't get to like a human readable decomp, but they use automated tooling to do a decomp, and then recompile to a target architecture. They're targeting x86, and that made me want to look at the Xbox 360 version of Soten. Others have done a Ghidra decomp of it, and the Ghidra decomp is pretty readable. The big thing with the Xbox 360 build, instead of having individual overlays, they're able to compile all the game code into a single binary, which is nice. That's actually one of the mods that I think would be interesting for PlayStation as well. The code itself there's not like a lot of code, and so for things, for pure functions, so like functional programming pure, where they're only operating on the arguments passed in and returning a variable, so they have no side effects. All of the pure functions should be able to be put into DRA pretty easily. And if you have that, you get closer to the point where you can put entities in other stages, because all of their logic then is there. You still have to worry about textures and all the sprite data and that stuff, but it seems like that could be something. Especially with Doppleganger, for example. So Doppleganger has all of these functions that I guess they are relying on globals, which makes them not pure. Yeah, MVG is really good at mistakes were made videos. So I'm gonna keep going. We'll see how these. We have a bunch of these like status effect type functions. Holy dark. Grep, not find. And it won't have a dot prefix. So we do have this building on other platforms. So we do, okay, so there's a global here that we need to worry about, which is probably going to be separate from this particular global in BSS. But it's long-ish, but besides that one global, it doesn't look like anything else really is there. So we have, instead of gplayer, we're going to have gdop. Let's see how far we can get with this without going to decomp.me. Nothing wrong with using decomp.me for these, but most of it is going to be fixing just these memory addresses, and decomp.me isn't necessarily going to help with that. At least that's kind of my feeling about it. I'm gonna have to dig through the assembly anyway to find what these offsets are. So I'm looking for this here. So there's a 0.16. The 0.16 is so this length, for example, is statically computed, but then we use it down here around this switch. Unfortunately, this switch isn't going to have a jump table associated with it, but we might be able to find where it is. There's another function. We're going to have to find that as well. So there might be a few things in here that decomp.me would help with. Let's look for that. So we want to jump. There's a jump to rand. A couple jumps to rand, and a jump to destroy entity. Is that the right function? Yeah, looks like it. So this is pretty far down after the destroy entity. So I think this may be ours here. But going back, I'll try it. We'll start with decomp.me, I guess. There's a little more in there than I expected. We should know all the types. This will help identify some of the globals that maybe we don't know yet, which is nice. I am going to this. So we end up only having a few of these variables. Even though it looks like quite a few more in here. So there is a few things though. So GAPI being one of them. Interesting that that is used instead. It looks like this is our the global that we need. Possibly. No, that should be fine. So we'll see symbol differences here, but then when you look at the second half of that symbol, it'll be +2, and that's the right thing. This function is different. We don't get a compiler error because in this version of C, you didn't have to pre-declare functions, and that was okay. You got a default signature. And let's see if there's anything else that looks obvious. So we have the offset for Doppleganger here on. I was going to say here on 19. Actually, so there's flags that are quite a bit different. So we're looking at 880 for our flags. I'm not sure what those are, so let's look them up. Okay, so it doesn't look like. It's not player locked, it's this other unknown, which may be related to Doppelganger. Actually, it's not that either. It's the next highest one. So has prims, and then US can alert. So we would have had to come to decomp.me anyway. Maybe not, but this does make it a little easier. These entity offsets, player is going to be Doppelganger. And let me see if I think my macro maybe may have the German spelling. Still need to fix that to be the incorrect spelling. So everywhere we have player, we want to replace that with Doppelganger. And I should actually add those. Symbols. Let's do that. I'm going to go through And this will make changes in the future much easier. So I'm going to go to symbols, and just like we have player underscore position X, position Y, I'm going to do the same thing here. So position X underscore I underscore high. I'm going to get that from here. And so I need to be careful about which one I'm getting first. Let's look at the so position X is going to come before hitbox offset X. Now, next time I extract this, I'll have these symbol names, which will be helpful. And these actually are backwards. Yeah, so when we don't have, this is prior to decompilation, when we want the assembly symbols to have, or the assembly files to have symbol names. We can put them in the symbol table file. This also helps with linking. So things that we haven't given variable names to yet in C. Once we have them in C, the compiler deals with keeping track of the offsets and the addresses that need to be linked. And we can go back and look at the build artifacts. So there will be a map file, for example, and this will have, what's a variable that I would have created for this? gdop was one of them. So this was generated by the compiler. The compiler will put the ones that we create from in the symbol table there as well. So we can kind of get it both ways, either from the compiler. And there is some, there are some makefile targets that will go the opposite way. They will look at the symbols that we've named in the elf file that gets generated, dump those back into this symbol table, and then re-extract assembly for things that we've already decompiled, but then with all the symbols that we've named. Okay, so, and we can kind of show that here. So I'm going to touch the splat config and then run extract. And what I'm hoping to see, and it did. So it updated this assembly file, which is for the function that we're working on. And so up at the top here, we should see those new symbols. And so if I was doing this by hand and not being able to rely on the DRA version of this already, I'd have those symbols in place, which would be nice. I'm going to add a few more. So like GDOP status instead of player status. Looks like isn't there yet. And so I'm using the just the symbols that are in here to do that. This is definitely one of those things where I'm assuming that this is going to have a payoff later on. So I'll do the work up front. Whether that's true or not, we'll see. And these symbols are really just throwaway symbols because because these are struct access, we'll never use them like they are. We'll reference the Doppleganger symbol, which is a macro, or we'll use the GDOP symbol dot status. So these are really just useful for this stage of decompiling. This is looking fine. I don't see anything else that's obviously wrong. So I'm gonna try to bring this over. And this was holy. Let's see if that works. Go faster. Okay, so we have a few. There's some references here that are undefined. When you change symbols like this, it doesn't just affect the files that you're working on, but all of the other C files. So the C files get compiled to object files, which are .os. Those .os then get linked into the final file. Because I changed these symbol names, the old symbol names no longer have a mapping. And when linking happens, then there's nothing that they can link to. Reference to DOP entity. Oh, and that's because I took the name from DRA. So now I have the correct symbol name there. And so this failed. Let's see why. It could be hopefully just some symbols that are wrong. And I see G player status. So I think that's what this is. And this is the best case scenario. This is just wrong symbol names, wrong addresses get computed. Not that big of a deal. It's this one, I'm pretty sure. Yep, and that worked. So another one, and didn't have to do much because all of these are the same as DRA for the most part. So let's do the same thing. We're going to go to entity hit by dark. We'll probably have something similar to these as well. This name came from the Richter overlay. And it was never named in DRA. And so we'll look at this again and see which of these seem like things that will change, which of them seem like things that will stay the same. The first thing I see in this function, we have something with the flags that's relatively similar. Whether or not this will change, I don't know yet. The animation set may change. Doppleganger uses the same sprites as Alucard, so I'm not sure if that's going to change. Z Priority will change. The palette may change. Its Doppleganger's palette slightly different. So let's bring it over unchanged, and then we'll see if it needs to change. A lot of this is older decomp, so some of it, it's possible that it should just change anyway to be modernized. I haven't looked at it closely, so I don't know that yet. We do a global here, so we're going to have to deal with that. So this is hit by dark. So there's some stuff up here that hasn't. 807 tells us that it's not part of the stage overlay. It's going to be part of DRA. This 801D will be part of the stage overlay, so let's look at what those might be. Let's see what those might be. So we have, let's look for where this increment is happening. So we're going to look for an add 1. So here's an add immediate for 2. And here's our add immediate 1. It looks like this may be V0. V0 is this 3D9C. So this is our counter. And so we'll have to find that over here and make sure that we get the right type. So we have an S32. So our animation is changing. We'll need to find that. And so this should be a pointer to an animation frame array. And we can see how that is defined in DRA. That may be one, maybe this. Not sure yet. Oh, I don't want to close that, but that's okay. And then there was one more symbol. Oh. Yeah, I didn't change the name. Need to change that. And so let's see how that went. Oh, I didn't update the symbol there. I'll find it eventually. Oh, I pasted this twice. That's where the mistake was. So failing, let's see. Just a few things which are wrong. So we have some values there that are off. And then here. So let me look at those one more time. I'm going to I'll create a new decomp.me scratch for this as well and see. I'm guessing it's either the palette or the flags. And the way that I would debug that, if I didn't want to use decomp.me, decomp.me is just going to be a little bit faster. I'm going to look at the offset into the file here. So for AE70, we're over here, so it's going to be 78 is my instruction, E78. And here's my 0028. SPIM, which is the disassembler, actually does a really nice thing. It recognizes that this is writing to the top 16 bits of this register. Load upper immediate, so the upper 16 bits. And so it generates the full 32-bit word with the shift of 16 bits. So it's telling me that this is what I'm going to see in the assembly is this 2800. If we look at the diff, 2800. And what I'm generating here instead is 0812. So let's find where we were. Where is an 0812? I think here. Yes, of course. Thank you, Mr. MIDI. Let's do it all again. Let's do it all again. So I have my diff from the red is the retail version. The yellow is my version. We're at 4AE78. And basically these 16 bits are different on this line. We find that in here, 4AE78. SPIM has given me a 32-bit word, shifted over by 16. So we're loading the top 16 bits with load upper immediate of this particular register. And what we want is 2800. My yellow looks pretty green. Yeah. Well then. Did I say yellow? So these are these flags, and again, what I want is 2800. Oh, sorry, I meant green. So we have this flag unknown 2 gazillion, and we're going to OR that with the other. This position camera locked, which was used in that other function as well. And so when we build that, it's still going to fail because I didn't fix the other one yet. But I think that flags line should work. Where's my diff? Yep, that one worked. So then our next diff is this 6263 versus 3363. And that's going to be at 4AE94. And it is an address. So I had the wrong address here. 62FC. Oh, duh. It's this, it should be Doppleganger. We never have the player. And that works. Most of the time, doing diffs against what you build and what you need are much harder. Because this is so identical to DRA, it makes it much easier. So let's keep going. Entity player outline. I named this macro without thinking about it, and I'm going to have to misspell this macro eventually. But for now, the macro is spelled right. So enjoy it while it lasts, because it won't last for long. So let's find entity player outline. This is going to be misnamed for this because this is going to be outline for Doppleganger. And so we want to do the same thing here. Is what do we have? We have gplayer, the player macro, player spell Hellfire. Mostly I'm looking for what the globals are here. We have one here that we're going to have to deal with. So it looks like the animation pointer. Some primitive data. This one's going to be a little trickier. This one I probably will bring into decomp.me. Look at all the reasons you could have an outline around you. I'm going to, so most of this isn't going to be any different. This global function is going to change. It's just going to be these globals and the macros that are changing. I do want to find one though that maybe doesn't have as many globals. So external function, that's not too bad. And if that's all it is, the primitive buffer, that should be the same. So gravity boot beam looks fine. I think I don't recall Doppleganger using gravity boots, but it appears that he can. So any player here is going to be Doppleganger, so I don't need a slash in front. And so primitive buff should be fine. The other thing that I need to look for is this function. There's only one of these global functions, so it should be hopefully easy to find. But it's not being called here. So there is something different. Oh, maybe not. This is just GAPI. A few more things wrong here. CDC 0. So our no-op is fine. 0-3 versus 1-3. So no-op, some other instruction, and then our wrong instruction at offset 8. So it's this 3 here. It's literally just ORing against 3. And so we need to... my guess is that there's going to be flags issues. And that probably is it here. No, actually, this won't do an OR. This will pre-compute these. So we need to find somewhere where the OR is going to be specifically computed. So here we have a minus 12. So here's an AND, but we're looking for an OR. Okay, let's look at some of the others. I would imagine it's going to be flag related again. So here's 1.7 versus 1D. Well, let's just take this over into decomp.me. If you don't know the signature when you're using decomp.me, you don't have to put it in. I just do it because I do know the signature, and that helps M2C identify the types instead of having to figure them out. This is not looking good. Looks like decomp.me may be having some issues at the moment. Try again. All right. So I'm going to bring over my function that I had been working on. All right, so this gives us a nicer. Sorry about that, Mr. MIDI. It would be nice. If anybody knows a way, I'm not the most knowledgeable about Twitch, but people who show up in chat all the time, I'd love to be able to disable ads for specific people. Obviously, you've been an awesome contributor, so you'd be one of those people. Anybody, I think anybody who chats, really, I'd be happy to turn ads off for. If there's a way to do that, let me know. I don't know if I can give people free subs. So we're up here on line 7 is where this gets set, and that's an unfortunate line. Basically, the compiler has optimized all of these up into the same line. So there's a bunch of stuff happening here. But we are just loading the immediate value 13, hex 13, so that's 19 decimal. So we can look for that. I wonder if it's related to this offset negative 12. So this flags is wrong. And so open flags. So one of the things we can do, which is kind of nice, flags is handled by the linter. And so I don't actually have to identify all the flags. I can just put 1880 0000, and that'll match, which is super helpful. The linter will come in and set this to the right thing. Oh yeah, I would not want, if you've been kind enough to sub, you're kind enough to not see ads as well. So I need to find this A0, where it's being used, and why might it? So it's being stored here. 40. No, that 40 is being loaded. Where is this? Where is A0 being used? Oh, this is frustrating. Let's look at the decomp and see if we can find what might be going on there. So draw mode's getting set here. Draw mode probably is the same. Priority. This gives us a hint as to what the offset is there. We could add a global for the Doppleganger Z priority, which may or may not be helpful. Still not seeing where that 13 is coming from. 15, sorry. No, 19. All right, so this is something that is using register A0, so it must jump past this because that A0 is being set. Here we're moving A0 to S0. So this is the offset on line 62. I don't think that is related, so let's grab A0 again. So we're loading this immediate value kind of as an optimization. Anticipating that it's going to be so here we go to 1C8. 1C8 is down here. But A0 is being overwritten there as well. I guess it depends on the branch. All right, let's look at the other differences and maybe narrow it down. So line 18. This is another one of those cases where more than it looks like is happening here. This may be related to the draw mode. So let me change that. Yeah, so this is the draw mode. So draw unknown 100 is not being used. And that doesn't help up here though. Oh, player status transform. Is that possibly? That may be it. So let's try Mist and Bat there instead of all of the transforms. Does Doppleganger not transform into wolf? Anybody know? That is not it. All right, where else? Where else could we have this Mysterious 13 Valley? I think that's line 47. So this is actually just coincidentally just Mist and Bat, so that was a correct change, even though that's not the only one we need. Yeah, I'm not sure actually. So Mr. Meaty's asking, how much do you think it costs to run decomp.me, resource intensive, and storage? I have no idea who is paying for. Well, Mark Street and some others who wrote Splat. As far as I know, they're the ones operating it. I don't know what budget or how or what they're running it on. It is a huge service, like to everybody, for them to be running it. But yeah, I don't know. They may just be doing it out of the goodness of their hearts and their wallets. Ultimately it is just decomp. So how much decomp exists in the world? Less than there should. All right, let's find this last constant. It is, but I mean, ultimately, it does cost something. And kind of on the opposite side of that, what happens when the people who are paying for it lose interest? And if they stop paying for it, are they going to take contributions? There's a non-zero time cost to running it as well, and it does go down from time to time. Not very often. A couple months ago, there were some issues here and there, but operationally, it's very well put together. It is open source, that's true. It's really the data. And so for a few streams, I ran a local copy. But I decided against that long term. I am going to set up a local copy again, just so that I have a backup. But the benefit is that you can upload this and then everybody else gets it. And so if you can't do that, or we lose all of the other examples, like a reasonable amount of SOT and decomp infrastructure is built on like going out and searching for um, all the scratches that people have done for particular functions, that we can find the best one, so that people, if you want to start working on something, you can find the closest one. And so all that would be gone. And yeah, maybe I should look into that and see if they have a mirroring strategy. I'd be happy to mirror it on any. I don't know how much storage it requires, but I have internet attached storage that I can run a mirror from that isn't particularly bandwidth constrained. Or even torrents. I mean, I'd set up a seed for torrents. All right, where is my missing 13? 13, where are you? Where are you? And why can't I find you? Nope, I don't want that. I want numbers. I just want to. I'm going to start poking at things and trying to. Find this again. So A0 is, it starts out as our self argument. So this is something where self is no longer needed. And so we can overwrite A0. A0 is being copied to the S0 register. This is a little strange that these cases are backwards, but that's fine. So, oh, I should have looked at this a little closer. So, this is being set right before this jump to 1C8. So let's go back down there and see what's happening down there again. So we're starting here at 1C8. We do need the, I'm going to highlight the A0 register. It may be the, no, that's not it either. I was going to say it may be the difference between those two. Let's go to 1C8. So we're here, and we're looking for the first A0. A0 is getting overwritten immediately. There's a no op in the delay slot here, so we're jumping to 1C8. We set A0. Jump to 1C8. Proceed to not use A0 and then overwrite it. And whatever is in this mystery slot, we have a 3. Sorry, yeah, we have a 13 and they want a 3. This status bat form says missed form is 3, so I was kind of hoping that that's what it is. I don't think the draw mode is it. So what else could it be? This is an odd one. I'm going to see if I can find the PSP version. And maybe that will tell us something. Let's find the draw mode, because I think that will be a relatively unique number. And it's draw mode 32. Not terribly unique. I want to find the most unique number. This 437 looks good. And I'll see if I have the... I don't. So I need to extract this again. From time to time, I clean these out and don't always keep the assembly around. Only one function has that. Only 2 presets for PSP. That's a little sad. So this is the PSP version of this. Really, I could look for what the like a strict match. This should match almost perfectly already, because it was pulled from DRA, which is matching on both. I am going to copy this over. Surprisingly, though, it's not as close to a match as I had expected. And here we go, line 11. What is it? What is it? The primitive. Oh, it's the argument to primitive. Allocate primitives. So let's find that. It may just be prim G4. So this is what type of primitive are we allocating? And yep, it's just prim G4. And that should match. I am a little surprised at some of these others that aren't matching. Symbols, not worried about. Line 18 here. I do need to make sure that, and this may be the reason for the not match, the primitive for PSP needs an additional symbol, and now that's matching. So it does match on both. And I think this will wrap up today's stream. Let's try to get this compiling. When you extract, you get another file that likes to ride along. Not quite. Not quite. What else are we missing? Let's look at the diff. EF0. So this tells us this is also a version of the instruction, and this is in little endian order, which is what should print out in the diff as well. 02004010, which is correct. So because it's little endian, the first 6 bits here is what our instruction is going to be, the branch if equal to 0. And this next part is the offset. So let's find that in decomp.me. In decomp.me, that looks right. Let's see what else is failing there. Basically on the next line, same thing. There's a constant that's wrong. But everything else is fine. So this is F0. So it seems like, and we could probably get this from the PSP version. Do we have labels? We don't have labels in either of these, unfortunately. What it seems like is possibly one of these is going to the wrong location. So let's try switching these, case 2 and 3. It's possible that these were backwards. No, that's not. That doesn't help. Those are going to the right places. All right, let's try to figure out where these are. So I want an FFFE, which is right here, and then so we're down here. Oh, do I have player? Yes. Oh, it should have been much easier than that. This should be GDOP. And let's see if I have any more of those. It doesn't look like it. So we can fix that. And it matches. Oh, it really does. It really does. I switch player to GDOP and make matches now. All right, all right. So that's all for today. If you want to know more about the Symphony of the Night decompilation project, you can go to soten.z.dev to learn more. We've been working on the Doppleganger 10 boss. Maybe I will import Doppleganger 40, and my hope is that most, if not all of this, just transfers over, and maybe we could do both of these at the same time. That would be neat. Thank you for joining, Mr. Midi. Really appreciate you, as always, joining. Anybody who shows up in chat, world of thanks. You make this enjoyable. I would do decompilation anyway. I do it live for all of you. Thanks for joining. If you're on YouTube and you want to join, Monday through Thursday. What time is this? 11 a.m. Pacific time, more or less, for about an hour and a half. I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll be doing more Doppelganger. Maybe I'll work on some of the mod stuff as well. There's 3 mods that I want to try to do before my talk. The Fleaman mod, which I need to refine a little bit. I have an idea for a death cutscene mod. We'll see how that goes. And then a logo mod that I'll try to get in. But that's it. Adios.